Well, I'm Johan Earl. What I do is anyone's guess. It's really is a bit of everything. Primarily, I'm a writer, actor, director, but I dabble in visual effects, special effects. It's kind of like in this industry. Whatever needs to be done, you just get in and do it. So yeah, I did my trade many years ago as a carpenter, and I've been in the building trade. So I've kind of got the manual skills to get in and do what needs to be done as well. So hey, I'm not too big to do any job. I started as an actor really, and it's been like 10, 15 years of just continually slogging, getting rejected, and not giving up. That's really all it is. It's just not giving up. And when people say it's crap, you go away, do it again, and you keep doing it until it gets better, and eventually people go, oh, that's cool. Look, it's just the luck of the draw, really, and determination, and spending every single cent that I've got, trying to follow a dream. It's also why I'm broke, but hey. Well, Forbidden Ground is the World War I picture that we've just sort of finished, and it's now getting distributed around the world. I think Germany just released today or yesterday. The US Lionsgate release next month, and Australia releases in December. And it's kind of staggered releases, up until about March through different parts of the world. And that certainly has been, I guess, the biggest break that I can sort of say when you said what has got you here. It's been a lot of years of getting to that point where we're in a position to be able to do something like Forbidden Ground. And now that we have, it's certainly opened a lot of doors for the next project, and you sort of now got contacts with distribution and management, and it's sort of opened up the world a lot for me. We were originally going to shoot a different film, and it was set in Nepal, and we had a Nepalese investor who was putting in half the money in this action film. But we went there for a recce, and she found out then that it was illegal for her to invest in a foreign film. So when we realised that we only had half the money to do this project, we came back and were like, okay, we want to shoot something this year, or what are we going to do? And we ran through all sorts of concepts and ideas, and things like Buried, with Ryan Reynolds. It's confined stories, the typical low budget ideas. What can you do in really confined location and in small spaces? And we come up with this World War I picture. I don't know how that works, but we did. We kind of started saying, all right, well, let's film something just in a crater. And they goes, all right, look, they've got to move around a little bit, so let's expand it. We'll have a couple of craters, and then we had no man's land, and and then Danae, my co-producer, she came out, and we were digging trenches. We had the big Kato, and she goes, "What's trenches for?" He goes, "Well, you've got to get out here, so you've got to have a charge." And then it just grew and grew and grew, and yeah, it started as this really small, idea for a low budget kind of film, and ended up being, a monster that I couldn't control. It was a bit crazy. Yeah, I wrote it in about 4 weeks. Literally, it was once sort of had the concept and go, all right, we're doing World War I because of the whole no man's land and trench warfare. That was the last war that had that. As soon as tanks were invented, it kind of negated the whole trench warfare thing. So once we had our mindset that this is the premise, it was World War I. I wrote it in maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks. All my scripts, except my earlier ones, I usually only take 5 weeks. I kind of write a little bit differently to most people. I don't know why, but it just sort of comes out. Structure, I think, is almost an instinctive thing. I've just finished a script called On the Run, which is a prison escape story it's based in Nepal and India, which we'll be shooting sort of early next year. And again, that took me 5 weeks to come up with the first draft. And my manager came back with a couple of notes, which is a few pages of notes, which is minimal. So the process for me is thinking about it a lot. I come up with a concept, an idea, and and On the Run particularly was a little bit fragmented, so I kind of knew how I want the story to begin. I knew sort of what would happen basically in my head, and then I knew how I wanted it to end. So I wrote the first act and I wrote the ending, and then they sort of gauged how and what should be in the middle. I don't do treatments. I don't spell it all out, plan it all. I kind of let things happen instinctively. So I just write. I'll go back, and if I write something new that I know doesn't work, so I'll go back and tweak that then, and it's kind of just an ongoing process. But like I said, 5 weeks usually turns out a pretty solid first draft, and it's not the way I recommend anyone else write. For some reason, I think about that process maybe for a few weeks before I even start. So the story is sort of locked away in my head, and I've got pretty muddy clear concept. Anyway, it's all sort of up here until it gets on paper. It's kind of hard to explain, but I know it's not the ultimate way to do it, but I just can't be bothered writing a 10-page treatment. I may as well just write the script. That's just me, though. I picked the biggest one, and I think I'm going to play that one. No, actually, that's not true. A little bit true. No, I don't really. I honestly, I write with a character for myself in mind, but all the other characters, I don't write for anyone specific. I just try and make them each the best character they can be. On the Run, this next one was definitely written to have equal leads with it as well. So it wasn't like I write the biggest and the best character for me. In this next film, I play quite a sort of subdued character who doesn't have a lot of skills in anything, who relies on everyone else to help. So there's a lot of other big characters, but it's kind of a vehicle. So it's designed in a specific way to, I guess, it be a vehicle for myself. But Forbidden Ground, yeah, I always knew I'd play that sergeant. That's what it was designed for. But again, the other characters, I just wrote them as best as they could be. I'm trying to keep them realistic. I don't like to have extra characters in that aren't needed. So it's always sort of minimal characters that I tend to write with. Well, once I'd already sort of gone down that road and decided that we're going to have the charge and everything, it was beyond that anyway. It's like, okay, I may as well write whatever I want now. And generally I do that anyway, unless I'm writing for a specific, if someone came to me and said, we've got $10,000 to do a film, then I'll say, okay, well, it's not going to happen. I'll make it really low key, but I knew how much we had. I knew we didn't have anywhere near enough, so I went and did it anyway. Might as well be honest.